October 1964, American politics was a highly managed affair. President Lyndon B. Johnson was rapidly expanding the federal government through his Great Society initiatives, and Washington's messaging was carefully scripted to match. Meanwhile, Barry Goldwater's presidential campaign was heading toward a landslide defeat. With poll numbers tanking, his team made a desperate gamble for national attention. They turned a pre-recorded national broadcast over to a former Hollywood Union president named Ronald Reagan. He wasn't provided with a script or a teleprompter. He was simply permitted to choose his own words regarding the choice facing the country. Reagan argued the accepted political spectrum, the constant choice between left and right, was misleading. Instead of a horizontal line, he suggested a vertical axis. Up represents individual freedom, while down leads toward the ant-heap of totalitarianism. To show the stakes of this downward slide, Reagan shared a story of a Cuban refugee who had escaped Castro's regime when told how lucky he was to be in America. The refugee replied, "I had some place to escape to." If the United States follows that downward path, there is no backup plan. Reagan framed America as liberty's last stand on earth, the only place left where the government is still beholden to the people. Reagan argued that this downward slide was most visible in the growth of the welfare state. He believed that centralized planning, however well-intentioned, acts as a drain on both personal liberty and the economy. The government was spending $45 billion to help 9 million families. If divided directly, each would receive $4,600, enough to eliminate poverty. Instead, after bureaucratic overhead, direct aid only averaged $600 per family. The inefficiency was staggering. Reagan pointed to new government youth camps designed to help dropouts, spending $4,700 a year per person for room and board, at a time when you could send a student to Harvard for just $2,700. He then turned his focus to Social Security, alleging that the government had practiced a long-term deception while it was marketed to millions as insurance. The government argued before the Supreme Court that it was actually a welfare tax for general use. This scale shows the reality. The program faced a $298 billion deficit. The head of the program admitted the shortfall, but told Congress there was no cause for worry because the government could always use its power to tax to bail itself out. For Reagan, the math was simple when a society trades individual responsibility for government-managed security. The result is extreme inefficiency and a net loss of personal wealth for every citizen. But the cost isn't just financial. Reagan warned that a government cannot control an economy without eventually controlling the people within it, often through force and coercion. He cited the Department of Agriculture as a prime example of a self-perpetuating bureaucracy. The agency had grown to employ one person for every 30 farms in the country, as the national farm population dropped by 5 million. This bureaucracy had real teeth. Reagan told the story of James Weir, an Arkansas farmer who overplanted his rice allotment. The government seized his 960-acre farm and sold it at auction to enforce a fine, all to make the system work. This domestic coercion mirrored the ultimate downward state, the international threat of the Soviet Union. Reagan rejected the idea we could find peace through accommodation. He argued that a policy of avoiding confrontation with an aggressive enemy is actually appeasement. He reminded his audience that there is only one guaranteed way to have peace in the next second: surrender. If we continue to retreat to avoid the risk of war, we eventually face a final ultimatum. Reagan believed that peace through strength was the only way to avoid the choice between fighting and voluntary surrender to 1,000 years of darkness. A time for choosing did not save Barry Goldwater's campaign. He lost in a historic landslide. But Reagan's unscripted address blindsided the political establishment in Washington.
You and I have the ability and the dignity and the right to make our own decisions and determine our own destiny. Thank you very much.
The broadcast became a launchpad for Reagan's political career, catapulting him to national prominence and giving birth to the modern conservative movement in America decades later. Modern pundits still use the same left versus right labels Reagan rejected. Yet his vertical axis remains the philosophical bedrock of our most heated political divides. When we debate the size of the administrative state or the growth of social safety nets today, we are still mapping our choices on this vertical axis. Each policy is judged by whether it moves us closer to individual liberty or further down towards centralized control. Reagan's 1964 thesis leaves us with a lingering question. Are we still facing a time for choosing? Or has society already traveled too far down the path he warned us against?
If you want to see America win, smash that like button and hit subscribe. For more daily content, head over right now to TrumpDailyPosts.com. We'll see you on the next one.